All right, so I'm going to end the poll. 75%, I'll share the results. 75% of you believe that it's getting a bit worse. 67% of you believe it's going to be about 6 months or so. Some longer, some don't know. So it's quite interesting. Right, let's kick it off. So welcome, and guys, thanks for your time, and trust you're all doing well on this lockdown Monday, so we call it. So really, what I'm going to do today is just go through what I believe we're helping our clients deal with in terms of we know a lot more today than we knew 14 days ago, and at the end of the day, since then, a lot of us have been in panic mode, and it's now time, I believe, to move out of that panic mode and start planning for the future and what does the future look like. Obviously, we look around the world and things are not 100% where we want them to be. And I'm seeing the same as what you guys are obviously seeing, looking specifically at America at the moment, looking at Europe, and then China's on the other side of the curve, and speaking and hearing from the coaches in China, they tend to be getting a little bit back to normality, although it is quite difficult getting information out of China. Obviously, we're seeing great things coming out of the medical world, in terms of what they're getting to develop and make. But the economic side is where we're really going to concentrate on. And it's really to decide how we can survive and thrive through this thing. But obviously, survival is number one, thriving number two. The big key is if we can get through the survival, and that's what I want to take you through from this perspective, because this is probably the third time that I've gone through this in my short business life. The most recent being the 2008, 2009 sort of major crisis in terms of financial world. But there's been downturns, and at the end of the day, there's been similarities between all of them. The biggest difference between those is, and what's happening now in my mind, is the speed with which it's happening is entirely different. I mean, if you look back at the speed at which the economic downturn in 2008 happened, it took a while to happen because people were still saying, is it actually going to be a downturn? What's going to happen? And that took really almost a year and longer to sort of play out. Welcome to those people that are just joining us. So it took about a really long time to play out, and depending what it was. At the moment, when we sit down and start thinking about the economic fall, it's really been on the last maybe 4 weeks at best in terms of the whole world, and even shorter for us here. So depending on the time frame, and even if we look back to the original sort of first time we heard about it, middle of December, it's really frightening for me to see where the level of panic is at and why it's panicking, why everybody seems to be panicking so much. And it's how we react to it. So really the difference is, as I said, because of the slow turnaround the last time into this panic mode, the problem is it's so quick now and we really need to watch it. So that being said, the shutdowns are reality, and that's the reality we have to deal with, and we'll be going through a bit of that. And every country is basically doing something that's been shut down at the moment, one way or the other. And the key for us here in South Africa and even in Australia is to, as we say, flatten the curve. And my goal is to flatten that business health curve, because that's what the key is. There's going to be some sort of bailout and stuff like that, and that's to maybe help you guys figure out where those are. So let's have a look at step number one. And this is really where we're going. The real key is positive communication. As Zig Ziglar, a really great guy and a mentor to a lot of people around communications. You never know when a moment and a few sincere words can have an impact on a lot. And this is really the number one. This is really the number one thing. It's about the visions and the goals and how we communicate where we're going. We also need to communicate very positively about what's happening. There's a massive amount of negativeness at the moment. And realistically, in South Africa, we've got some sort of clarity. Although the clarity is only 21 days and the certainty is only really the first 21 days, we at least know what it's about. And I know that I'm trying to be as sensitive as I can to the actual virus, but I have to look at it from one economic point of view so that you can move into a more positive frame of mind and a more positive time frame. Personally, I think it's going to be somewhere between 8 to 10 weeks, maybe as long as 12, but not much longer than 3 to 6 months. Because in that time, it's going to have some sort of, if we look at what happened in the Chinese curve. They're currently 2.5 months into it, and they're tending towards normality. And I know normality is the new normality, for want of a better word, but those are the things that we need to be prepared for, and that's what we're looking for. We need to make certain that we're making a move towards that, and we really have to change our level of focus and our vision on the goals and where they're going to be. And closely aligned to that is what is our level of passion and enthusiasm. And it's tough at the moment, it really is. And I think one of the things we really need to do is sit down and get it back and figure it out for ourselves, because it's going to be vital, not only for us, but for our people, for our teams, for our customers. They all need to see the way we're getting through it and we're going to go somewhere. Because realistically, this is going to end and we're all going to become stronger as a result of it. Some of us are going to always survive for sure and maybe even thrive, but the thriving is going to come at a later stage. Right now, we need to concentrate on the surviving. But part of the plan that we have to put into place now is going to help us survive through this and then get positivity. You know, the positivity comes from the top, and as business owners, we need to give up our team something to hold on to, something to focus on, something that's going to help them know that their job is important, that the business could become stronger and will become stronger as we understand it and understand what the challenges are. And that's the communication that we have to be working on. We really have to be communicating with all of the people. We really have to be telling the number one job is not to survive. The number one job is not to thrive, but to survive. And we really make it clear for our people that although there may be tough times and they know it may be hard and it may be important time to share salary deductions, and they might have to live on less than what they were living on for a short period of time, that the survival stuff is the important stuff. The survival stuff is what's going to get us through it, because, and it's not only for our employees, it's for our customers, for our suppliers, the bank, and everybody in the community. We've got to be communicating with everybody. So if you think you were communicating a lot before this, it needs to be 4, 5, 6 times more than it used to be. Yeah, every single employee in your company needs to be called. Every single employee needs to be spoken to. You know, one of the most difficult things now for a lot of employees is twofold. One, where there's a physical control, total shutdown, we need to be in touch with the employees to make sure that they're okay. We've got a responsibility towards them just to communicate with them and say, how's it going? Where there's not a shutdown, where there's still work happening, we need to develop ways to communicate with them so that we can be in touch from a point of view that we need to know what's going on, both personally and on the business side. So we need to make sure that we're having daily meetings with staff. We need to make sure that we move things forward in such a way that there's a high level of communication. So the most important thing around that is really just communicate, communicate, communicate. I can't put it any clearer than that, but it has to be positive. And it's up to us as leaders to make it positive. The second thing, change is inevitable, is the business model. We have to understand what's happening with our business model. And business model innovation is a constant in this economy. You can start with a vision of a platform. For a while, you think it is a straight line and then it's gone. Then suddenly there's a new angle. I mean, the software guys are really cooking in this market at the moment, and the IT guys are fine. Even some of the businesses that you wouldn't have thought are doing well. And just this morning, I was hearing of a Pilates instructor in South Africa that is now doing international online Pilates sessions. So the opportunities are abound, but it needs a change. And unfortunately, whilst change is inevitable, this change is almost being forced on us. We need to understand that there's no longer things as you knew. It's almost BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona. And things are going to have a different mentality. So let's have a look at the formula for change and what this means for us. So the D in the formula for change, and it's not a complex formula. The D is for dissatisfaction. We've really got to understand what the dissatisfaction is, and the V is the vision. So the dissatisfaction times the vision plus the first steps, when that's greater than the resistance, we will change. So if you can think to yourself, what is your current level of dissatisfaction? If you give it on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's pretty high at the moment. But it can't just be as simple as just dissatisfied with the current business model. Or it can be that you're dissatisfied with the fact that we have to stay at home and do nothing. But meanwhile, this is the opportunity not to be doing nothing. And that's where the vision comes in. What is the vision for the future? What do we expect the future to look like? What do we want the future to look like so that we can have what we want? And at the end of the day, when you start rating those two things and the multiplication factor, that's the important thing. Because right now, there's very little resistance to change. At the end of the day, it's more around the fear. But we do know that the first steps is going to be the hardest thing because times are difficult. What are those first steps and how difficult is it? And those are things that the starting point for this is, and this is why I'm so grateful for you being on this webinar today, because part of this is around how do we change and what is that change? So one of the things you're going to learn first about the vision is that you have to have a clear vision. We don't change the goal because the market shifted, but we know that we're going to do something slightly differently. The goal doesn't change, it's just how do we get there? And there's an urgency in the marketplace to get out there. And that urgency is fed by this vision that we have. But we need to make small changes because a whole bunch of small changes of, let's say, 1% times by 100 gives us 100% of changes. And that's really what it's about, because we have to be looking about how one idea, if we have 100% of focus on that one idea, if it doesn't work, there's going to be very little change. However, where we focus on a lot of little changes, and if we do 1 little percent difference somewhere, and 100 of those little changes, we're going to make a big difference. So it's a small pivot, small changes, and the small things that we have to do to make massive changes in our business. We have to look at the opportunities that are out there and where those opportunities exist within our businesses, and how do we take those opportunities to the market. Quick example of that is, and it does come from America, and I wish I had a gym as a client still. But this gym pivoted so quickly that when Vegas was shut down, they went to all of their clients and said, right, the first 25 clients that respond to this can rent out our stationary bikes, and we will deliver them to your home for the next 3 weeks. And they pivoted that model so that they were still getting a steady income from those machines. And that's the kind of thing that we've got to think, how do we make a difference? So somebody is starving, and there is marketability in everything that we do. We have to understand our sales strategy. We have to understand what our pricing structures are. You know, we have to really keep ahead of everything, because of this economic shift that's happening is also the biggest economic opportunity. And possibility, the biggest economic opportunity you'll see in the lifetime. And the way the market is shifting, these opportunities are massive for companies that shift and doing the right things at the right times and not trying to just make a quick buck. Coming back to that, it goes to leverage and scalability. That's how do you do things once and get paid for everything. You've got to be able to leverage the stuff that you're going to be doing. 12 months ago, you probably thought, hey, that's a silly idea. But now, you've got to really look at it with some sort of detailed thoughts and understand how the best we can do. Because what wasn't or couldn't or maybe didn't work 12 months ago, it could very well be the change that you're looking for in the next opportunity that's going to hit you. I mean, in a lot of restaurant businesses that have been shut down, they've changed their business models to go to a full service delivery, to full family meals instead of just a once-off a la carte thing. They're also looking at how they're going to get out of this scenario through planning the future, because yes, they've been forced to shut down, but what is they going to do when they start up again? McDonald's closed a record number of stores, but they're also doing a record number of billings in a lot of the places because of the drive-throughs and because of how they can do that, and because they're shifting. So the key is leverage, doing things once, getting paid for it forever. How do we scale what we're doing so that the next sale costs us less and it's easier to make? So we have to pivot our business and see where the massive future is. That's where we can change. So we need to look at changing the business model or just leveraging what we've got and scaling up. Step 3. This is the new normal. That's a fact. You can say what you like, and I cannot put it more clearly than that. But it's no longer something new. This is how we're giving our business the option to work from home when needed, or to try something different. The lifestyle without having to change jobs is a win for everybody. And this is the things that we can do now. 20% of companies sold stuff online. Yep, and it's about technology. But it's more than that. And you know, you really look how you can You got to really look at how you can sell stuff online now. That's the key. So the key is really to be saying to yourself, what online selling can I do? What online selling is going to happen? And the online stuff is really the key to going forward. But there's also a human management side to it. And the human management side to it is how do we manage the people that are working? We need Skype meetings, we need Zoom meetings. You name it, there's going to be more technology around it. But are we sure that the people that are going to be working from home or even working virtually in the future know how to manage people? And the key is we've got to manage the people so that we know what's happening. A simple Zoom meeting every day and every morning where everybody checks in and where we're checking that everybody's doing, making sure that everybody's on track with the plan that we have for that day. So for example, we run our huddle on a Zoom meeting. And that way we can make sure that everybody's on track. We know how everybody's feeling, and we also know. The second thing is getting it down to written documents. At the end of the day, people must say, what did they achieve for today and what are they going to achieve moving forward? The biggest fear that I have is that we lose track of managing the people that are working remotely. We lose track of their productivity and we lose track of their ability to keep us in the loop through the communication again. And it's about reporting. How do we get the reporting done properly so that? And social distancing, it's going to take a long time for us to get back to the social way that we would. And the social distancing now is much more real in a lot of people's eyes. It's almost becoming a factual thing that people cannot see each other anymore. And we tend to overestimate the power of the interactions that people had at work. We have people feeling alone, and that's important. And that's where it goes back to communicating with your team and making sure that they just stay on track and that they don't feel alone and then become alone. We have to have those virtual meetings so that we know that people are working, what they're working on. We have to give them an idea of what's moving forward. Everybody has to have a role to play so that when we get back to the offices, let's call it the end of April, beginning of May, we've all got a plan for what's happening and that the office is still running effective and smooth. We have to have the connectivity still going, and we also have to make sure that there's plenty of continuity in what's happening. So it's really, for me, about reporting and planning. Does everybody have a plan of what they're going to do every single day that they're not in the office? Does everybody have a plan to do that they're working remotely? Are we filling in those daily worksheets and those daily plans so that we can keep each other accountable for everything that we're doing? Finally, it's all about making sure everybody's involved. It's about 100% involvement and 100% inclusion. So keep thinking about that while I talk a little bit about cash flow and cash flow management. So when we look at cash flow 2 weeks ago, we were saying we stock up on cash. Yeah, that's still feasible and it's still something we need to look at. And it's still a good time to have a look at the possibility of getting. Just remember, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. Now is a good time to cut costs and extend credit. But by cutting costs, we do things in a clever way. We do things in such a way that it doesn't impact negatively on the future ability. We must take time to renegotiate important contracts. And we must make sure that our key suppliers and partners are always kept up to. We must investigate which government programs are available. And in South Africa, we've definitely got the 2 programs which we should have all registered for. The one in the SME program, and that's on the website. And we don't know what the ins and outs of that program are 100% yet. But there's also a lot of programs where we start getting tax rates and tax relief and tax deductions for just keeping the people on board. So we must really be aware of that. And if you want any more information on that, I'll be giving some at the end of this. Postpone what we can. A lot of us, and even in my business, we had things planned for May and July, and those are the kind of things that you need to postpone. For example, conferences, big items of capital expenditure, and items that you really can delay until future. A lot of us 3 months ago were probably looking for upgrades to office spaces or even to vehicles or equipment. That is all changed and that needs to be postponed. But negotiate as far as possible. We also need to look at our cost structures and how our cost structures are impacted in terms of the way we do business. We need to try and figure it out as a percentage of sales, particularly, but also as a percentage of total cost. At the end of the day, we need to look at how does going virtual in a lot of our businesses change. How does going virtual do things differently? How can we use cash flow management? And yeah, cutting all stuff's on all costs. But we need to be understanding that cutting costs is renegotiating also. The one big way we can get out of this is to sell our way out of this. And we really need to consistently be selling. And that's the most important thing. And how do we pivot to selling? Because at the end of the day, some businesses were forced to close totally in some way. But we need to be understanding what we need to do. We need to be consistently communicating with our market. That brings me to the next one, where marketing must shift. So any ads that you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So step 5 is really changing the marketing model. You've got to shift your marketing. There is no ways you can be doing the marketing in the same way that you were doing it before. Ads that produced results 3 months ago should no longer be running. And any marketing that you did and you created should be changed right now. Because the messaging has to change. We have to change the message and we have to act now. We have to be having a message with compassion and we have to be getting that in the marketplace. But we need to know the numbers around that. We need to communicate daily and across the board. We have to be urgent. You know, at the end of the day, urgency is what's going to get us through this. But we also have to get our marketing viral, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You have to be virtual and viral. You have to get any Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, Google AdWords really working for you now, because that's where people are. That's where the market is looking. Doesn't matter what your business is, and we have to be out there for the future. We have to be doing it much more than before. And that's the other key. Much more than before. And know the numbers. You know, you've got to really understand that if you're spending 1,000 rand on marketing, you have to get 2,000 back. And you have to know those numbers deeper and deeper. Because that's why things work. At the end of the day, when you're doing your marketing right, it's going to give you the return on that investment. It's going to give you that return, and you really need to know it. But you need your marketing to be educating and helping. You need your marketing to be educating customers as to where you're going, what you're doing, and how you're getting there. You need to educate the customers as to where you are there to help them in this time. Step 6, sales with compassion. So selling today has to be a shift in the way you do your sales, and it has to be compassionate. You know, I'm hoping for a bit of time for questions at the end, so we get in there. So sales today, and it's about the level of compassion must be really, there must be no hard sell, and it cannot have that what we used to be, we're making a lot of money and everybody is strong. We really have to be empathetic towards our customers' needs and what our customers are doing and saying. And what our customers are doing and saying. Because at the end of the day, it's important that we go through the tough times emotionally with our customers too. Everybody is going through economic tough times, but there are a lot of emotional tough times, and a lot of the selling happens on emotion. That said, we still have to make sales. You're not going to get through this unless you sell someone. And I was chatting with somebody that said, I feel bad about selling at this time. You can't feel bad. At the end of the day, this is what it's about. So the two main pillars of great salesmanship are being competitive and compassionate. So you must change the tone, and it must be a serious focus on your customer. And it's still selling. You know, you can't feel bad about it, because at the end of the day, you've got a business to run, a business to build. You've got jobs to save and family to feed. And no, you'll never feel guilty for doing it. Okay? So long as you are selling great value to people that need and use your products and services. You need to sell on purpose. So, for example, my purpose is to save business owners right now and get them to survive and thrive through this thing. So I said, no, it's up to me to be fired up and to do this. I want everybody to survive, as though thriving is the end purpose for me. But I need to, and that's the passion that I'm about and the purpose that I'm about it now. And relationships matter. You know, those relationships that you've had previously and the relationships that you've built up over the years in your business, those are the important relationships that you need to keep up. because those are the relationships you can rely on in these times. And as you come to grips with those relationships, it goes back to communication. You've got to be in touch with all of your old clients. You've really got to be in touch with everybody and communicate. Step 7, it's around customer service. And it's around customers for repeat business. Because every contact we have with a customer influences whether or not they'll come back. We have to be great every time or we'll lose them. So for those that work with me before, you'll understand the concept of repeat business. It takes us 6 times more cost to get a new customer than just to keep the original one that we've got. And this is something I've always thought, because repeat business equals profit. Let me say that again. Repeat business equals profit. And if you sit down and start thinking to yourself about this, you start looking at what am I doing right now to make sure I'm taking absolute care of my existing customer base? What am I doing right now to make sure that I'm keeping them all on board? How can I help them? What can I do? What do I need to do? And it starts by chatting with every single customer and understanding by getting the message out there. It starts with being a leader. It starts with getting an understanding of your team. It starts with getting an understanding of what they want. But keeping existing customers is a must. We have to go above and beyond, and we have to take time to build the loyalty. And here's another key. Remember, virtual must make it visible. You have to be visible because at the end of the day, that's what the key is. Although you're virtual and although you're not in the office the way you used to be, and although you're not seeing the people as often as you were, the key is you have to be visible and you have to be visible. So how do you do that? Well, it's by making the call. It's about dropping a note via email. It's about the odd WhatsApp message. And yes, even Facebook and LinkedIn. But it's about maintaining those connections. There's a thing called the ladder of loyalty. And as we move our customers up the ladder of loyalty, they become our raving fans. And that's where the relationships become important. And we have to carry on creating raving fans out of our business, because this will create massive levels of growth and revenue. It will also help people to grow. The other thing around visibility is go and read a book by Harry Becker called Selling the Invisible. Now more than ever, because of the virtual world, customer services, people can't see you smiling. So what are those critical non-essentials? What are those things you can give out? Those little tidbits of information, those little things that are not at all critical, but they're essential to the story. They're essential in times of virtuality, and they're essential to keeping your customer and your visuality in your customer's mind. They are really important to the survival of the business. And this is where the profit is. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is where the profit lies. Step 8. Most importantly, getting the most from your people. And here I'm not talking about losing them. Start with good people, lay out the rules, communicate with your employees, motivate them, and reward them. If you do all those things effectively, you can't miss. Yeah, the General Motors CEO. So the first thing we need to understand is that they are in fear. People are worried. People are very fearful at the moment. They're worried about their job. They're worried about getting fired. They're worried about everything they see on TV. They're worried about their family. They're worried about their friends. They're worried about everything. So you've got to make certain that you're getting in front of them. You can't help this, but by going out there and showing them that the fear is real and that you understand it. But you need to lead your people so that the fear is not there. You've got to give them something to focus on. And you've got to get their mindset focused on one thing. And the fear has to dissipate and the fear will not be there. So the kind of things you get them to focus on is how do we make them profitability? How do we make them profitable? How do we make profit in the company? And how do we carry on selling? We have to make this stuff real, and that's going to get us results. Yeah, I will be giving a recording because of apparently some sound issues. So the next point is really to set new standards. What we were doing before has changed. The standards of what we accept, the people need to work harder, they need to do more than they need to. We need to make sure that we're changing everybody into profit centers. We need to ensure that we are refocusing them, but we need to be seen to be leading. Remember, the whole business is in crisis. It's not just what happened, but the fear is worse than the actual thing. The fear is far worse than what could happen. Do not let the fear stop you from doing the right things. But remember that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And we have to be aware of that. We have to be setting these standards for our people, and we need to be seen to be leading the people. We need to be telling them it's going to be okay, and you need to be planning so that it is okay. Make certain that you get on in front of them, whether it's on video, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's on Skype, but you need to be leading the people day in and day out. You need to be actually communicate with them. Not just sitting in the background planning how we're going to get out of this or what are we going to do. You have to be in front of your people because they need to know that you're the leader that they need right now. Give them something to focus on. Now, you know your people are going to shift. We need to shift them from cost centers into profit centers. We're going to have a look at some people that used to be in a cost center and move them to a different part of the business where they're now profitable. We need to sit down with these people and we need to sit down with ourselves and say, right, so what do we need to be doing for them to be out there? What do we need for them to be doing? And what jobs are no longer valid? You know, at the end of the day, if we go back to step 6, we said had to keep on selling, and selling is the most important thing that we have to change it. You know, some of the salespeople need to be selling more than they are selling currently, which means that there's probably some admin that's getting them. So you get them selling 10 times more by getting someone to be their assistant. At the end of the day, rather than having them do their paperwork, right now, we must get them to be selling. That's what they're good at. Let them sell. Let somebody else do the paperwork. And this means we're going to have to retrain some of the people because we've got to be moving them to profitability. We really have to be concentrating on how do we get them profitable in our organizations. Because some jobs are going to be gone forever. That's a fact. And we look at companies already just this morning. Amazon are hiring 100,000 new people just to maintain their deliveries. We have to keep as many people as we can. And we have to look at where we're getting government handouts to keep them on salaries. We need to be strong with the people and firm with them and help them understand that all of us will possibly need to take some sort of a pay cut. But it's better to have that, and that'll go away with time. Because yes, this economic downturn, maybe it's going to last for a couple of months, but not years. And if I remember from the seasons, we're in the winter. We're in a bit of a winter phase, but the spring is coming. And with the spring that's come, we're going to part with the new shoots, and there's going to be prosperity in the summer. That's the way these cycles work. But the last thing we want to be doing now is getting rid of people. Because in these few short days, and maybe weeks, we're going to meet them back, and then it's going to be. I'm going to say one thing now that's quite important, though, and that is where we had people in the organization that didn't fit. Now is there an opportunity that we can have those frank discussions with them. But at the end of the day, we need them, might have to take a pay cut, and we might have to put them on a phone to call people. They might have to be cold calling. But sometimes they have to do what needs to be done in order for them to make money so that we can get through the next 30, 60, and 90 days in this. They might need to change jobs. We might need to repurpose them. But you need to get in front of your people and tell them they need to be selling more, and as we need to communicate with them all the time. Most importantly, just keep communicating. Step 9, your brain. We need to build a strong mindset. The strength of your mind determines the depth of your desperation. The weaker the mind, the deeper the desperation. Daily rituals become the most important thing. Don't get caught up in the negativity. There's a lot of negativity going around, and instead of looking at the negative, make sure you're going forward with daily rituals of reading and looking at your goals, focusing on the positive daily stuff, daily rituals, and the stuff you need to do. Don't get caught up in the negative articles about the world about to end. Let's face it, it is tough. Let's face it. We're going to have to hunker down in a place for a week or 2 or 3, whatever, 21 days it might be. But now is the time to get your business into survival mode. Now's the time you should be learning and growing. Now's the time you should be looking for an opportunity, not a crisis. Because as you know what you've got to do, there is an opportunity. It's not a crisis unless we let it become a crisis. So get something every day where you work on your brain. Now, if it means going for a walk or it means walking around the garden because we can't go much further than that, just make sure that you do what you need to do to build a strong mindset for yourself. Find the small wins in every day. Maybe even for me today, it was just a small case of doing a whole bunch more on social media than I've normally done. And sometimes no news is good news. We do have to understand that a little bit less news is not a bad thing. Maybe limit ourselves to how much news we're taking in. There is not a lot of fake news at the moment. It is being stamped out quite a lot. But it can be depressing looking at the negativity and looking at how bad this is actually is, which we really need to plan for. Step 10. Plan for 90 days. Going into business without a business plan is like going into a mountain trek without a map or GPS for support. You'll eventually get lost and starve. So it's a 90-day game, this guys. Whichever way you look at it, it's going to take a bit of planning. I might be slightly off, it might be a little bit shorter, might be a bit longer. But right now, I'm looking at this as 90 days to get my team and myself through this whole thing. You can look at it from this perspective. You've got to start thinking what to do, what we need to sell, and what in the next 90 days. How will I do it differently to survive the next 90 days? What can I sell for 90 days that will get me through this thing? What is it that people are buying that can be urgent? What do I need? And what are we going to deliver in the next 90 days? How are we going to deliver it in the next 90 days? What are we going to be doing differently? And make sure that the people are there. How are we going to do this? And that's really what it's about. Remember what you said right in the beginning. First, survive. Thrive second. And work with a coach. Look, at the end of the day, all great sportsmen have coaches and they help them through it. That's the bottom line. And it's not about, this is not a sell. This is just work with your coach that you've got. Step 11, look to invest. A simple rule dictates more. Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Warren Buffett, probably the smartest investor in the market today. Stock markets are about 30 to 35% off at the moment. It's not a bad thing. Companies, for me, this is the important stuff. Companies will be up for sale. All right, everybody will be in economic cycle. Customers will be up for sale. There'll be customers that be bought from your competitors. Customers will be looking to those companies and businesses that help them through this crisis. And that's where it's, remember about the economic cycles. We're in the winter. Spring is going to come and it's going to get better. Summer is just around the corner as far as I'm concerned. We do, however, need to act now. And it's important. We need to think differently. We need to take some actions. Every downturn is followed by an upturn. You must never forget that. Step 12, because we over-deliver. Common sense and compassion. The key is to set realistic customer expectations. And then not just to meet them, but to exceed them. Preferably in unexpected and helpful ways. Over-deliver on customer service. That's important. Clean, don't touch. Look, at the end of the day, make sure everything is clean. And the way the world has changed in terms of touching at the moment, that's reality. I don't see that changing for a while, but just respect everybody in terms of that and keep a safe space. Provide sanitizer where feasible and possible when we are back in our places. But most importantly, put people first. At the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. We're all human and we're all people. Whether it be our employees, our customers, or even our competitors. We're all human. So be nice, take a chill pill, just relax, and don't buy too much toilet paper. So just to finish up, get to the coach and make a 90-day plan. Make sure you've got your 90-day plan in one. Right now, what I'd like you to do is list 5 ideas that you can take action on today. 5, you've got some great information from and ideas of what we spoke about now. But just list 5 ideas that you need to take action on today. So now it's time for questions and answers. What I will do is I will take you all off. If you would like to put up your hand, if you've got a question, then I can take your question. And just to follow up, if you write that down, you can book a free coaching session with me. Give it a couple minutes. I call it a crisis strategy session.
I became a business coach because I'd spent 25 years in corporate South Africa, working my way through various aspects of business. And then I got to the point where I was chasing my tails, putting in 19, 20, 24-hour days with no real return. And I started seeing this more and more in the people I was interacting with. And then after a long search through various aspects of life, I decided I'm going to go do something for myself, give back what I've learned in those 25 years. And I found that by helping others, I've became a better person, and I became what I needed to become. And that's why I really decided to become a business coach, to help people, to help them fix what I've gone through my experience. I believe every business owner, entrepreneur needs a coach for a number of reasons, but most importantly, it's that outside looking in. Everybody needs a coach just for that one-on-one interaction with somebody that's not very closely related to them and what they do on a day-to-day basis, but can help them see the wood through the trees, can help them find the path. The coach, I don't know everything, but I help them find out the path that's right for them and take them to a different level. Whether they're number 1 or number 2 or number 3, it doesn't matter. We'll take them to the next level. What I love teaching and helping my clients become better at is hiring the right people in their business, is getting the right people to do the jobs that they are often doing themselves, helping them find a new path for themselves so they can take the business to better, higher levels by having a great team around them. I love helping them see what numbers does for them in their business and how the numbers teach them about their business and help their business come to life. Because at the end of the day, the numbers are the results, and people end up measuring the results through those numbers. I find my clients love working with me for the simple reason is I keep them accountable to what they're doing. I'm hard on them when the time needs to be hard, but I also cry with them when times are tough. I sit together with them and we walk down the path together. It's not them and us or me and them. It's really as a team we work together, and I think that's really what they like. They also like the fact, from experience, me taking them out of the comfort zone that they've been in, asking the tough questions to help them realize, hey, there is a whole lot more that I can be doing and I can be doing better. And that's what I think they love working with me. And that's why I love working with them, is taking them and helping them think bigger than their current thinking, believing in themselves and really helping them celebrate their wins. That's why they love it.